What's going on, guys? This is our first YouTube video. Fresh drop right here. Calling these the coronavirus fireside chats. I don't know if that's goofy or not, but hey, whatever. Hopefully this is the cringiest video you see today. That's my goal. Alright? So, my purpose of doing all these videos is just to kind of give you maybe some routine, just kind of feel maybe back at home in Mr. Williams' history class. Give you a few laughs, maybe learn a little bit, make fun of me, take screenshots and send them all over Snapchat. I don't care. We're probably never going to see each other again, so we'll see what happens. Okay? So, if you look behind me, on this day in history, William Jennings Bryan is born. William Jennings Bryan ran for president 3 times. Got rejected 3 times, just like me at junior prom. Big politician, late 1800s, early 1900s. We actually talked about him with the Scopes monkey trial. He was one of the lawyers there. Also born on this day is Earl Warren. He was a Supreme Court justice. We'll talk about him next unit if that ever happens or whatever. But he was known for making a lot of decisions in the Supreme Court that helped our civil rights, expand civil rights a lot during the 60s and 70s. So hopefully we get a chance to talk about that. Then last one, 1920, U.S. rejected the Treaty of Versailles, which, as you guys know, hopefully ended World War I. We rejected it because we didn't want to get caught up in Europe's drama. So we said, no mas, we're going to hang out by ourselves over here. If you notice behind me here, threw up a little picture of a arena, March Madness probably. That's probably what that arena looks like right now. So, rip March Madness. But you know what? It is what it is, right? Alright, so just some announcements. On those Google Forms, there's been some issues on those. I've tried to fix all those once you guys email me. So, if you ever have issues, just email me. I got my phone all the time. Looks like Jazzy Bostic emailed me 4 minutes ago. Jazzy, I promise I'll get you soon. Alright, don't worry. Alright, but just email me issues, problems, those kind of things. I've sent out some emails regarding some assignments, maybe changing some things. So, guys, this is weird. This is a weird circumstance. So I'll be flexible with you. You be flexible with me. Missing assignments, those ones before we went on break. I put a Google form on there for you guys. Just take a picture of whatever that assignment is, upload it there, and I'll try to grade as quick as I can. If you don't have the actual worksheet, send me an email. I'll shoot you a copy. Each video that I do, I wanted to talk about 3 or 4 assignments that are on the list. Just trying to kind of go right in a row. Some of them are easy, some of them are a little bit more difficult, but don't shy away from the difficult ones, guys. Maybe try to get those out first. So once it gets down to crunch time, you can just play a game on there or, listen to some music, one of those choices, okay? But I did want to talk about the first 4 choices. So the first one is Miracle, okay? That movie's on Netflix. It's on Disney Plus, I believe, too. It's a hockey movie, big Cold War, because we are trying to beat the Soviets in there, okay? I fixed the Google form on there. I know we had some issues, but, that's a good one. All right, if you got, an hour or 2 on a weekend or, right now and you want to just watch it, relax, answer some questions, no big deal. The next one is listening to that episode of Backstory, which is a podcast. I know you guys are too young. I think it's like a rite of passage now for adults to listen to podcasts. That's how you become old and boring. That's when I knew I was old and boring, when I started liking them. So don't shy away from those, okay? They're 40, 45 minutes a piece. Yeah, it's a little longer, but really good information, really interesting stuff, okay? Don't shy away from that one. That third option, talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis, which we will talk about today in our video lecture. We found those nukes in Cuba, and JFK had a lot of decisions. That's a time in history where we were pretty close to nuclear war. So in that one, you're just going to look at some choices, analyze them, tell me what you think. Interactive website. I think you had to have a Chromebook or a laptop or a desktop. It uses Flash, so just be aware of that. And then lastly, this one might be one you save to the end, okay? Win the White House. This is kind of a classic, right? I think Jesse Shannon, shout out to Jesse Shannon. You dominate this game. I know you do all the time in class, but there's some questions about that. It's a pretty fun interactive game. You can make all sorts of goofy, mottos, and it's just fun. Okay, so I think the Google form had an issue there too, so it should be fixed now. All right, so each time I drop one of these videos, I do want to talk about some of the stuff we were going to talk about in class. You guys don't have to take notes. Again, like I said, this is weird. I just wanted to, give you some information about, the lectures and the Cold War and some of that stuff that we were going to talk about in class. Okay, so last time we were in class, we talked about Eisenhower in the Cold War, how he was, super jacked up, high tensions, massive retaliation. If the Soviet Union jacks with us, we're going to unload our nuclear arsenal on them. Okay, just keeping everybody, both sides at the brink of war to try to control the other side. When JFK gets into office, John F. Kennedy, in 1960, he's going to change that a little bit. His foreign policy is called flexible response, and that was him kind of toning down things. He didn't think that, every situation needed, to threaten nuclear war. He thought that conventional troops, could be used. That was called flexible response. Now, Kennedy, young dude, second or third youngest president ever elected. I think the first was Teddy Roosevelt. But usually young presidents really struggle with foreign relations, especially when they first get into office, because not everybody talks to the Prime Minister of the Soviet Union or the King of England or the Queen or whatever. So a lot of younger presidents have inexperience with that. So, and his is going to show at the beginning of his presidency. Beginning of his presidency, there's an event called the Bay of Pigs invasion. Basically, Cuba in the 50s is lost to communism. There's a communist revolution, Fidel Castro. The Soviets really like them. They're like best bros now. And that freaks us out because, hey, Cuba, 90 miles off of our coast, right? So the CIA gives JFK this information of a plan that they've been developing before, JFK was in office, called the Bay of Pigs. And it would take Cuban exiles that were, kicked off of Cuba when that revolution went down, arm them, train them at least a little bit, and try to launch an invasion of Cuba to take that back over from the communists. Awful plan. Stupid, rough. These dudes barely get off the beach. It's really embarrassing, Kennedy kind of takes it on the chin, and, he does a good thing leadership-wise. He says, hey, this was my fault. I totally take the blame for it, even though it really wasn't all his fault. CIA kind of gave him some bad info, but, he took credit for it, okay? So that's the Bay of Pigs invasion. Another bad thing that, happens during the Kennedy administration is there's some issues in Berlin. Remember, Berlin is in East Germany, which is controlled by the Soviets. And that west part of Berlin, though, is free. It's democratic. In the 60s, when JFK is in office, Soviet Union throws up the Berlin Wall. They had an issue with East Berliners flowing into West Berlin because they have a lot more, freedoms and, opportunities, and they can just, buy stuff, right? So the Berlin Wall is going to stand for about 30 years, and it is a symbol of communist oppression. You can see some pictures of the graffiti that has been, drawn on that over the years, and it's a sign of oppression. And when it falls in the 90s, it's kind of a sign of, hey, more freedoms to the world. Now, the biggest thing that happens in JFK's presidency, the one defining moment of the Cold War, is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like I said in the intro, this is the closest we've ever been to nuclear war, closest we've been to World War III. So what happens is, we have spy planes flying over Cuba, and we discover these silos, these weird kind of buildings. Kind of interesting story. The thing that tips us off is that we see a lot of soccer fields in Cuba, and we know, hey, Cubans, they don't play soccer, they play baseball, so it must be the Soviets that are there. So when we figure out that these are nuclear weapons, we go into kind of full freak out mode. It's a big security crisis for us, and JFK's faced with a choice. Do we invade? Do we airstrike? Do we make a blockade of the country? So what he ends up doing is blockading all of Cuba. It's pretty touch and go. There's a Soviet ship that tries to break the blockade. It's heading right towards it, but at the last minute, it turns around. If that ship didn't turn around, it would be bad news. Okay, bad news for the world. But Kennedy's, his leadership during this time was crucial, because if he would have, rushed through it, not have been patient, could have led to an airstrike and, nuclear meltdown, right? But he was patient, listened to all of his advisors, ultimately took the decision on him, kind of learned from that Bay of Pigs invasion, and, handled it pretty well. So, impact of the Cuban Missile Crisis, kind of a tone down, kind of, stepping the foot off the gas a little bit with tensions between us and the Soviet Union. Loosening up of those tensions, and kind of an interesting thing is we set up a hotline between the White House and Moscow, where if relationships break down, things are going to be, have some issues, the president and the prime minister of the Soviet Union could talk directly to each other. So that's the impact of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that's all I need to know about JFK's presidency, in the Cold War. Okay, so what I want to leave you guys with today is just, hey, hang in there. This is something that doesn't, this whole situation, it doesn't happen very often. So I know some people, maybe you're not worried about it, but I know there's probably some tension, some worry, some anxiety about what's going on in the future. How am I going to get these classes done? I can't see my friends, any of that stuff. The advice I give to you guys is just set a schedule, set a routine. Write it down, say, hey, I'm going to get this assignment done then. That organization will help you guys out a lot, and it'll bring a little bit of comfort to your mind. In the link down below, I'm dropping this video too, you're going to see a link to a TikTok video that I made last night, so I'm going to try to be TikTok famous. You can go view it, laugh at me, joke. If you comment on it, I'm automatically blocking you, and I'm probably going to deduct at least 50 points from your grade, which is a joke, but don't comment, okay? Look for those, coming up in the future. So there's also a link to a YouTube video about the Cuban Missile Crisis if you want to learn more about that. I'm going to try to do a little shout out each time to a student that's doing pretty good work in our assignments. So I want to shout out Hannah Danielson. She gave me a pretty good little TikTok. It was pretty well put together. The only complaint I had about it is I found the original one that you kind of, I don't want to say copy, but not plagiarize, but maybe got a little too much inspiration from. Next time, I want you to MLA format that TikTok video. I'm not sure how you MLA format a TikTok video, but Hannah, I bet you can figure that out. So, hey, let me know if you guys need anything. Hope you guys have a good day.